Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Garrett Mehrguth, President and CEO at Directive. We will discuss optimizing your B2B marketing platforms for customer generation. I know you guys are ready, so let's get it. Garrett, how are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I am good. It's an incredible honor having you on this podcast. In marketing, we talk about the grapevine or the horse's mouth, and I have one of those here. So thank you so much for being here. Let's get right to it. Do you want to tell us more about yourself, your background, and your role? Yeah, I know you have a very incredible marketing story, so I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. I started Directive almost 10 and a half years ago now, over 10 years ago. Um, Started on like Fiverr, just doing like $5
My God,
gigs and stuff.
yeah.
A lot of like independent consulting stuff. So I was helping like family, friends with like small business stuff. Um, Went from Fiverr to charging like 400 bucks a month, like mostly working with local SEO stuff. And then eventually kind of got into B2B, and then from B2B kind of got into SaaS, and then just kind of try to keep working it.
Interesting. So one part of the things you also do is, help a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, especially from the agency side, in terms of like coaching,
Yeah.
acquisition, and things like that. Yeah. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yes. I totally forgot. Yes, I'll coach all the CEOs uh at night in my free time. So I got some guys, that are doing 7 million, 11, 12 million. Other guys who are doing 30,000 a month, and like so everybody's kind of in different spaces and places with their agencies, but I love to kind of
Mhm.
just help them with maybe some of the stuff I've gone through and things I've seen work, things I've seen not work, and just the hopefully like I had people who helped me when I was getting started, and I think we're a big
Yeah.
part of like success. And so, giving back to the community, and obviously I charge for it. So something I
Mhm.
enjoy. And then I guess if we're doing plugs, I've got a course I'm launching hopefully before the end of the year where I did about 52 hours of video. Um,
Ah,
Across with every asset, looked across people operations, finance, sales, marketing, um, and uh, finance, like 5 modules. So
mhm.
then each lesson has an asset that I use. So like I'm giving away like the financial model I use for Directive. So every other
Wow.
agency could have like a real financial model to look 3, 4 years advance and really
Yeah.
understand how they're performing and stuff like that across the board. And then I interview my head of finance as well in each lesson. So it's not just like the CEO's perspective. It's also the
Yeah.
person who owns and operates the business unit's perspective. That if you buy the course, like, as the owner or the CEO, you can consume the content, but then you can also forward it to a team member, and then they can see what one of their peers at Directive thinks or does with the same
Mhm.
topic. So I hope it
Yeah.
could be, very valuable for people.
Hey there. If you're anything like me, have lots of website traffic, but no idea which ones are window shoppers and which are ready to seal the deal, then I've got a game changer for you. It's Lead Feeder. This is a tool I like using. And what it does is it shows you which companies are coming to your site. You can track their behavior and integrate it with your CRM, which will help take your lead generation efforts to make it more targeted. The result? Convert more website traffic into sales. Head over to leadfeeder.com now for a free demo, and you can also get a free extended premium trial when you let the rep know that you found out about Leadfeeder through the Marketing Leadership Podcast. All right, back to the show. No, absolutely. And I'm not saying that because it's a plug. Please, all plugs are welcome. Like we were talking up the mic, I'm an incredible fan of your work, and I think you guys, you you help businesses around the world, B2B, truly grow their brand, and you do it in a way where the market can easily understand, right? There are many other players, doing this as well, who have made B2B marketing so sophisticated that we have some of us, people like me with 13 years of experience, have to go back to school to learn one of what some of those terms look like. But what you guys have done is that you've make it look so simple, so everyday, yet so impactful, different thinking and some of those things like that, which we also explore, as we go on here. So, great job on what you are doing so far.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Um, and speaking of your work, earlier this year you shared a report, on media technology platforms and how they help to provide ROI, especially in the B2B SaaS space. And if you're listening, I know we'll be saying a lot of B2B SaaS, but I would argue that it could also be used for B2B in general. No knowledge
Yeah.
is useless. So, um, and I will say as well, this report is called the verdict. So if you're listening, just get onto Directive's website. We'll put that in the show notes and download the report. It's pretty great. I did a personal analysis on it myself and shared that on social media, I think some 2 months ago. Uh, but what I would like to find out is your own personal perspective or learnings from that report as Garrett. Like,
Yeah.
what did you realize? Like, oh my, this is insightful. What are some of those things that you
Yeah.
found? Yeah. Do you want to tell us some of those as well?
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. No, personal. So, I mean, like, a lot of what we do at Directive is try to take, you know, a lot of agencies aren't, I don't think, able to have super deep opinions or point of views on what they believe about advertising or marketing,
Mm,
because they don't do it for themselves. And I think a lot of what my opinions are from is just doing it myself. So like last year, I spent over $3 million on sales and marketing. So
mm,
it's like of my own money for Directive, right? And
mm,
so when I'm doing that, my whole thing I've always believed in, I've from day one is like, if I'm going to do something for a client who's also a B2B company, I need to be able to make it work for me.
yeah.
So like I'm just like very simple, I guess, in that regard. So it's like for me, if it works for me and I can learn all the learnings of what it took to make it work, I can be a better consultant because every idea could work. I think the problem with a lot of consulting is we don't understand through personal experience all the things it takes to make it happen, right? Like gift cards. I think Directive has been frankly a pioneer in gift cards, but I don't just do it for my clients. Like last year, I spent over $500,000 on gift cards.
Oh,
So, like, I do know what works with gift cards and what doesn't, not because I did it with a client, but because like I lived it personally with my life and then saw what it did to my P&L, how it affected my pipeline, how my
mm,
AEs reacted to it, if I could monetize it with SDRs on the intro call or not. So when you get all the nuance of doing something for yourself, when you recommend it to a client, you can help them get success faster by avoiding all the pitfalls. Like when I first did gift cards almost 4 years ago,
yeah.
I had a really hard time getting people to close from the gift card. It actually took me 6 months to close my first deal from a gift card.
Mm,
So I'll tell clients that story. So they don't come in thinking we're going to just do this channel and all of a sudden they close them right away. Because salespeople usually are good at inbound. Like they're good at
all right.
responding to someone who has a demo. They're not as good always at responding to people who might be window shopping and they might not have a sales process for that. And so by just doing it myself personally, I think I can honor my clients better by helping them understand what I've seen happen and what they should more clearly expect. Um,
Mhm,
from the report, I think the biggest things I found was like review sites are still work
mm,
very well. Um, our top performing channels are still review sites. So the Capterra, Software Advices, G2 Crowds of the world work
mm,
well. And I think that makes logical sense because that's other people who theoretically paid you opinion on what you do, right? And if
yeah.
we're going to look at Yelp before we buy a $7 breakfast burrito, we're probably going to look at G2 before we spend $150,000 on a software, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's really keeping marketing human and understanding how humans buy, what they care about, and they usually care about themselves a lot more than the company, right? They don't want to look bad. They don't want to hire the wrong vendor, get egg on their face. The social proof's big. And I think the report really
Yeah.
showed that. And then I'm a big proponent of deleting MQLs. I haven't
Mm,
found that the way marketers do forecasting oftentimes is very linear and doesn't take into account a time decay. So they
mm,
do this funnel. in a moment of time where it's like, I'm going to get 20 leads. From those 20 leads, I'm going to get 5 demos. And from those 5 demos, I'm going to get one customer. But like, that's not really how it works in reality. And it definitely
Yeah.
doesn't work in a time frame. What I found is like most channels that drive MQLs don't drive demos. And so like the things that drive demos aren't actually flowing down from MQLs, but instead are derived directly. And so it's like, what we've tried to pioneer is deleting the middle of the funnel. So like use more CPM and video based stuff to do brand advertising and get your brand message distributed without any
Yeah.
click, right? Because people
Yeah.
also, right, click rates are usually around 2 to 3 to 4%. That means
Mm.
98% of the people might not actually receive the value of your ad if it's not a video. I try
Mm.
to get the consumption of the brand's content in the feed at a much more human, just consumption way we like to consume things, like we're on TikTok or Instagram. No different in B2B. And then I try to use like gift cards and combo ads and Google ads and review sites for direct response for people that
Mhm.
are in market, or if they're not in market, use incentives to generate some type of intent so that we could get them to a demo. But then I try to delete like advertising informational assets and things
Yeah.
that I haven't found convert in reasonable timelines because I'm also on, annual retainers. So I don't get 3 years to prove my value. So I try to do
Yeah.
things that are more impactful in the first 12 months. But
Yeah.
that's a long answer to what I took away from the report.
No, 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 no. That's great. And you mentioned the value of some of these channels. I would like to tweak your brain a little bit here. So there is also the aspect of retention, revenue expansion, lifetime value, whatever people call that. Um, what are some of the channels that you've seen from your experience that are great at getting that kind of job done? Retaining customers, expanding their revenue, life cycle marketing, or whatever it is, or even if there are channels that that are great at driving good customers from the get-go. Because I've watched your keynote, I don't know, maybe 20 times now, and you said it's very important to get the right customers,
Yeah.
because if you get them, they can expand with you and so on and so forth. But also there might be some channels that turn I guess good customers into great customers because they're already acquired, and now you need some life cycle sort of marketing to drive them to even be better. So, from your experience, what have been some of those channels or revenue streams that you've seen? And this is me just extending the value of your report.
Yeah. Well, I would think about it in a couple of different ways. So
Mm.
I don't necessarily agree with the concept that marketing can acquire good customers, and through the
Mm.
sense of retention. I do
Mhm.
believe that marketing can acquire good customers in the sense of average order value. So I think
Mhm.
those are two
Okay.
fundamentally different things because
Yeah.
there's two parts of it. So lifetime value is a formula. It's derived from gross margin. Gross margin is traditionally most affected by price and less cost of goods sold, in my opinion,
Mm.
at a macro level. And
Mm.
then you have AOV, how much they're paying you per month, monthly AOV. And then you have
Mm.
essentially lifespan. The truth is in marketing, and no one wants to be honest about it, but when I worked for good software companies that have great products, good product market fit, proper pricing, I look like I'm very good at marketing. When I work with products
Yeah.
that are bad, poor pricing, and not always the best cultures or the best product market fit, I look very bad at marketing. The truth is
Yeah.
marketing is not that important when it comes to making money, but it's critical at the same time. But there's
Mhm.
not this magic fairy dust where you hire a very talented marketing firm and you grow. You can only grow if you have product market fit, great delivery, service, sales, and pricing, and then you
Yeah.
add the marketing. So I want to be clear on that. I just think there's this myth that like I'm somehow more powerful than I am. At the end of the day, I am very much codependent on the product I am distributing. Um,
Yeah.
that has the biggest effect, in my opinion, on the quality of retention from what the marketers drive. Now, when it comes to monthly AOV, that is something I can control and be powerful with. So what we
Mhm.
did is we developed a methodology called customer generation,
Mhm.
where instead of advertising using the audiences that are available on LinkedIn or the audiences that are available on Facebook and Instagram, what we do instead is we essentially map out every account that fits the firmographic or technographic profile of their current best accounts, right? So
Yeah.
we would
Yeah.
work with someone and say, who are your top 10 accounts when it comes to like size or, retention or whatever they're optimizing for.
Mhm.
We then anonymize them. They give us the data and then we enrich it in like a Zoom info. Once
Mhm.
we enrich it, we see what is statistically significant about that. Like, what do all 10 clients have in common? And
Yeah.
then how do we find other companies that are in the geographic regions that this business operates that reflect those same things? And then
Mhm.
once we've identified those, we go find every company in the world that fits that profile. And then we manually verify all of them, upload that data to LinkedIn, and then only advertise to those named accounts.
Yeah.
By doing so, that's how we're able to have a big impact on our clients when it comes to their profitability, their AOV, and like getting those clients they really want. Um,
Mm.
because we only advertise to those clients. And I think by keeping it that simple, um, it makes advertising very powerful and it lets you sustain advertising even when it underperforms because every impression you're delivering has been pre-vetted and intrinsically valuable because that's a
Yeah.
client you want to get one day. So that's
Yeah.
kind of our approach.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I would like to stay on that. But before I go on, just wanted to echo some of the things you said in terms of, it's gotta be a great offering, right? Great products. And what you also mentioned there, in my work with go-to-market, whether it's on B2B or B2C, is the evolving roles of commercial teams, right? Where you have, sales, marketing, accounts, service, and maybe IT transformation. Some people might want to add that to that as well. And having that engine work is a means to really, create a sustainable business, which is why, we can't wait, people listening, to have your course roll out and have people also buy that and use that to improve their business because a brand, a business cannot just grow, you know, with some, like you said, hire a talented marketing agency or even a marketing team or a marketing leader, pun intended, for this podcast. And but it's really about getting, all the elements right and getting the engine working. And I'm going to ask you a few questions around that as well as we go. So thanks for mentioning that. But back to what you just landed with, the concept of customer generation. With B2B, there are many things that are no longer relevant in terms of marketing best practices, brand versus performance or linear funnel, as you mentioned at the beginning, or the fact that people cannot even measure lifetime value and things like that. What are some of the performance marketing practices that you think our listeners should ignore, and why should they embrace certain aspects of customer generation, like integrating brand and performance, working with North Star metrics, financial modeling, first party data, and so on and so forth? Why should they embrace that and leave all the other things? I'll throw in another one there. Siloed teams is also something that is hurting businesses right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like leads and like MQLs are, I always say they're kind of like balloons, um, in the sense that they either eventually pop or you look inside and there's nothing there.
Mm.
So, I just see a lot of CMOs getting themselves in trouble because they have a lot of activity metrics, but maybe not a lot of down funnel revenue metrics. Then eventually the finance department, the board, or the CEO shows up and they ask, well, how many demos did we drive? How many clients did we get? How many came from digital? And
Mm.
if that answer isn't reasonable or viable, they lose their job. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, to me, I'm a teammate for the people who hire me. And my job is to say the uncomfortable things that their employees can't,
Mhm.
um, to really hold them accountable to their potential, um, as a professional, not in some like negative sense, but you
Yeah.
hired a third party to come in. If I don't say anything, then you should just bring it in house.
Mhm.
So I think the key is more helping them understand what's in their best interest for their own jobs and their careers even, and then also honoring them when they say, well, I agree with you, but I can't for this reason. And then
Yeah.
figuring out how to make it work. But I'd say the things that just aren't working right now is like SEO. A lot of people in content are still optimizing for traffic. We track the North Star metrics for all of our accounts. I've got 105 mid-market to enterprise B2B SaaS accounts here at Directive.
Mm.
They're all very good customers. Um,
Hmm.
I would say that they're very top marketing teams in the industry.
Hmm.
I would say we're probably the largest, SaaS marketing firm in the world right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that for a fact.
yeah. So when I'm working with these organizations, I think I have a pretty good understanding now of kind of what's true or not true in the marketplace. If that makes sense. And I
Yeah.
personally still do all the work with clients as well. So I'm like very kind of plugged in with that. And traffic is still, for example, a big KPI for content marketers and organic teams. Um, and I think that's a mistake. I do think you can just set up a Google event and that could be like demo form submitted. And then you could track how much demos come from organic. If you can't do full integration,
Hmm.
um, across the 105 accounts, I would say less than 15% have offline conversion tracking properly set up between their Google ads and their Salesforce. That's a,
Mm.
that's a service we offer here, very
Hmm.
affordably that we do for
Hmm.
a lot of people, but
Yeah.
even maintaining that, if they only pay us to set it up, and then they have an internal rev ops or marketing ops person. They miss that a lot as well. So they end up not being able to leverage Google's algorithms to
Yeah.
understand how down funnel performance is working. So there's still a lot of MQL and like in platform data. How many leads did we get from Google ads? How many leads did we get from uh, G2, and less how many demos did we get from Google ads? How many
Yeah.
demos did we get from G2? And there's not even any how much demos did we get from organic? It's still very how much traffic do we get from organic? So everyone is still very much struggling with, I wouldn't even say attribution, because I don't even worry about attribution. I just want to know like what channel drove something, which I guess is attribution, but in a very like simple first touch manner. I would say
Yeah.
less than 25% of the brightest SaaS marketers in the world can do that currently.
Mm. I think so. Just to add down, I'll get your thoughts there. Based on some of other people like you, I've also been following. They say sometimes the problem is that people are looking for a direct attribution to an initiative. For example, like I don't know, like a content piece or an ad content or something like that, instead of looking at an entire revenue stream or looking at an entire channel. Is that how? Is that what you think the issue is, or in some way maybe is even a means of, in my case, in working on strategy, I realized that it even goes beyond revenue streams. Sometimes it's about the messaging. So is this messaging at this stage of the buyer's journey, B2B, B2C, is it working? Is it connecting? And if that is not working, it doesn't matter if a channel is doing better or not, because we know everybody contributes. And then the second problem might be maybe people are just waiting to report something in the within the month or within the last 2 weeks. What do you think?
I think a lot of it is, my background is a little bit more modeling, economic, and like finance based.
Mm.
So I did like all our finance for a very long time until we got too large for me to do that anymore. But it was something I was passionate about because I thought it was an important skill that I needed to develop as a professional,
Yeah.
um, to just be better at my craft, which I care deeply about. So
Mm.
when I think about channels and things like that, I usually build a model to understand my unit cost of acquiring one customer. And I
Mhm.
figure that out. I ask them, how much does a client pay you monthly on average? How long do you keep them for? What's your gross margin? And I come up with an LTV CAC ratio.
Mm.
I just base it on a unit economic of one. And it's very simply put, how much can I spend to acquire a customer? And I can figure that out with a client on a sales call in about 15 seconds. It's not a hard exercise, right? And we have all
Yeah.
these models built to help
Yeah.
customers do it in 15 seconds, which they've never been able to even do before. We can do it in 15 seconds, right? And what
Mhm.
you'll find is a lot of the marketing you do, like promoting, let's say, sponsored content on LinkedIn to promote an ebook,
Mhm.
that can never mathematically work for a SaaS company. So it's not even a messaging problem. You're right. The messaging is bad, like most of the time, but
Mm,
that's irregardless of if it's a financially feasible acquisition strategy, given the cost per impression, the
mm,
CPM and the CPC, and then
mm,
your life cycle stages post
mm,
download. When you do
mm,
all the math, you're like, oh crud, like this could never work. And that's why I will like push them more to like, let's do a video and then let's go with like video views where it's not about driving a demo or a customer. Instead, it's about distributing a message to your point earlier, but in a financially feasible way that honors a financial model based off their pricing and their cost of goods sold. And
yeah.
so
That's some people will call demand.
yeah, I just try to keep it very simple like that. I just have a really strong financial acumen for why you recommend what you recommend, and then try to get the marketing right. But you have to get the money right first because the marketing, there's no fairy dust. It can't
Yeah.
overcome these auction based platforms. Like you can only lower the CPC by so much with an
Mm,
auction. You're not in that much control. If you just
mm,
honor the way the cost of something works and then the life cycle stages you currently or historically have from that ad unit or channel, you can very quickly determine if something's worth investing in as a marketer to like improve the messaging and make
mm.
better, or if it could just never be feasible financially.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I agree with you. As a strategist, I thought it's important to also learn, whether it's marketing or business intelligence, however you mix those terms. And a couple of years ago, I got to learn, I didn't learn it myself. I was mentored by someone else, how financial modeling works and some of the things to look out for and how to make that simple and things like that. So but yeah, this playbook that you just described is really, I think, what listeners should focus on going forward. I understand it's the cold recession and everybody is under pressure. But somebody told me this, one of our guests, he said, if your marketing, if you do not have a marketing idea that is bold enough to get you fired if it doesn't work, then you are not worth it doing marketing. So, but the point is that, you are doing everything the way it's supposed to, as Garrett had mentioned, and that through stakeholders translates to an element of bravery, is what I would say, because it looks like from everything we've been hearing, the adoption rate for digital maturity for this kind of revenue marketing is still very low. And that's
Yeah.
because people are not brave enough, to take that step and stand out in the marketplace.
Well, it's not
They just
that. It's the
okay.
truth is if they got better at tracking, people could also know if they weren't doing good.
Hmm.
In
That
the
and
in the
which was what
higher
you mentioned.
levels, like for
Yeah.
what I do now and what we've gotten to as a organization over the last 10 years,
Mhm.
the marketers that we work with make on average 250 to $350,000 a year. They don't
Hmm.
want to lose that.
Yeah.
A lot of what is going on in marketing is not so utopic as we might hope. A lot of what going on is
Yeah.
in political. What I mean by that is like, you know, as an agency, like we always try to be a good partner. If something bad happens with the client and like the CMO is upset with the director of demand gen, we want to fall on the sword.
Yeah.
We're almost like an insurance policy, it feels like sometimes for a
Yeah.
director of demand gen where they could blame us if it doesn't go right. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And they also
Yeah.
CMOs aren't always clamoring to tie all their marketing activity to revenue, because what if they aren't driving any?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would argue that it's not marketers right now are not making revenue attribution their top priority because they already know in their heart of hearts that it ain't gonna look good. And so it's not actually that they can't or they don't know it's important. It's that it's not in their best interest as an individual's job security. I'd say it's the truth about the industry that people don't say.
Yeah. 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 That you're very right about that. I had a conversation with regards to that, I believe was yesterday, depending on when you are listening now. Um, it's the Marketing Leadership Podcast. So much revelation so far. Garrett has been amazing. like I said, full disclosure, I'm a fan of Directive, and this is just a proof of everything I've been a fan of. And guys, if you're listening, please don't forget to put in a review on the podcast. We hope that as people review, we'll read a few of those reviews. And here is one, and I quote. It's titled Great Insights. Dots always invites industry experts, and it is great to learn from their perspective. Each episode is so valuable for the marketing field professionals. That first part of the statement is actually true, because here we have, Garrett, one of the gods of the B2B marketing, I dare say, game. So please, guys, don't forget to review the podcast episodes, and share with your friends, and let's learn together from all these great guests that we have. Before we get back to some of the little serious stuff that is left, um, when we take a very, very quick commercial break from our sponsor, and when we come back, we're going to put Garrett through the Dots Rapid Fire, which is a virtual court of law containing 3 questions, truth and nothing but the truth. So, guys, stay tuned. The Marketing Leadership Podcast with Dots. We will be right back in a few seconds. Marketers, welcome back. The Marketing Leadership Podcast, and it's the Dots Rapid Fire. The fire is so hot, I couldn't speak straight. So, Garrett, are you ready? Three
I'm ready.
questions, nothing but the truth. Okay, good. The first one: what is your best marketing KPI? And I don't want to hear sales. I don't want to hear revenue. I don't want to hear lifetime value too.
I do the first held meeting after someone's been qualified by sales. So in my funnel, it goes intro call, strategy call, proposal, SOW, negotiation. So I measure all my marketing off of strategy call held, not strategy call book. So it's this very first call after someone's been qualified by a salesperson. And then it's not that the second call's been booked, it's that the second call's been held. Um, and that's what I measure.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Second one: how long do you use social media every day?
How long do I use social media? Oh, I'm terrible, man. I don't know. I don't really like to post on social media. I'm not like that. I'm
Oh,
a very like
yeah, I
private
see.
person. So I've
Yeah,
had
I see.
hard
Yeah,
time like that's what I got Tim for. Tim's way better. He does his, the signs and the cutting fruit. So I
yeah.
try and I've got I think like 13,000 followers I saw on LinkedIn, but I
Yeah.
always forget to post. So I'm not very good at it.
I know, yeah. But don't worry, your job is speaking for you, so that's good. Last question: what is your favorite marketing quote? We marketers, we like quotes, so give us one.
Perception is reality.
Mm. Do
So
you know why I like that quote, Gary? Because back in the day, it was all about performance marketing. Impressions, CPMs were like the forgotten stone. Now everybody's embracing them. Oh, we need to do impressions. We need to do nobody wants to hear brand awareness 5 years ago. It's You're going to get fired. So if I would translate that quote in that way, yeah, you're right about that. At what point in your life did that quote become very important?
I wrote it 10 years ago when I did our values for Directive.
Uh,
So
uh,
I
Look at that.
I just think it's important from how you dress to how you speak, to how you
Yeah,
prepare, to how
yeah,
you move a brand up market. It's just the way humans are in life is they
yeah.
make their assumptions off of what they perceive and experience.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess just to throw in another example, there is this podcast. Shout out to Brian in the background, making sure everything looks very cool, world class, professional. So perception is reality. All right, back to the episode and a few questions before I let you go. Uh, Business and marketing leaders, when it comes to helping them chart the course for, I guess, you know, business growth or marketing growth or brand growth promised land, the go to market maturity, or I believe they need help of marketers, professionals, experts like yourself. So in your space, the SaaS B2B space, how do you work with business leaders or marketing leaders or CMOs, like you mentioned earlier, to go from, what we might call, and you're also familiar with, research and development, all the way to economics of scale? What are some of the things that you help them to achieve through that, maturity curve?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first thing is you got to actually be able to know like how much market share you've taken. So what's cool about our approach is once, we talked earlier about like finding your best clients, anonymizing them, enriching them, seeing what kind of firmographic or technographic traits they all share or enough of them share, and then finding all the other companies that have similar firmographics or technographics to your ideal customers. Well, once we
Mm,
do that, we don't only just upload that audience after manually verifying it. We don't just upload that audience to like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We also, and programmatic, but we also upload it to their Salesforce instance. And then what
mm,
they can do if they label them properly with us, you can then measure, let's say there's 10,000 accounts in the US, we can measure how many of those accounts are in our pipeline, how many have closed, how many are we talking to. So they can actually report to the board and say, we've taken 28% market share in the last 3 months with our ideal customers. That's a very
mm,
powerful thing that we empower our customers to be able to do.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, in terms of the way we run B2B marketing these days, it looks like, not just from what I know, but from what we're hearing so far, that there is still a lot of manual processes that brands are, going through. Are there ways that you've seen that are way more automated, so much so that marketing can be personal or can be in a multi-moment experience, if you like? Of course, I'm not saying there is a silver bullet or we are there yet, but I believe that I know that you guys invest a lot in R&D, marketing R&D. And what does automation play into that? What are the great things about marketing automation that you have seen that makes B2B marketing go at scale, if you like?
I would say anything I like about automation. I actually dislike pretty much all of it. I think humans can tell. I don't think anyone's nearly as stupid as we think they are as marketers sometimes. I think we
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
forget. We're
that's
like, that
true.
doesn't work on me. It'll work on them. Like, why? So I'm a very like simple dude, I just kind of like think about marketing all the time and like try to like I reflect on like anytime I watch a commercial, I'll be like, when did I stop paying attention? And I'll rewind the commercial at the moment. And then I'll
Mm,
watch it again and be like, okay, how did I like the music? Or how did that affect me? For example,
mm,
I think Twitter X just launched a new product video. I was gonna tweet about it. I didn't feel like it. Classic me. But I got like a minute through the video and I stopped watching because the music was too repetitive on the loop. And so I
mm,
was like, crud, I'm doing videos for other SaaS companies and sometimes they're like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But I catch myself even when I show the video to somebody dozing off at this point. So it's like, okay, I try to take that back anecdotally and fix it. I don't think there's
mhm,
much automation, frankly, though, in marketing that works. I think most marketing that you automate, you probably just shouldn't do at all. Um,
yeah,
like most our marketing is poor when we do automation,
mhm,
because personalization is so difficult that if you were to customize and segment your marketing so well that the automation didn't stink, it's usually
mm,
not worth the time it takes to do that or maintain it. And
yeah,
so automation in general, I think, is not a, a noble pursuit. I would say a better pursuit is doing less in your marketing, but making sure everything you do in your marketing is shockingly memorable.
yeah, it's more
Um,
impactful.
yeah, I focus more on impactful marketing than I want to do more marketing. I'd say sometimes marketing actually can hurt you. And I don't think we
Yeah.
ever really talk about that as much.
Yeah, yeah, and some I guess sometimes that will be reflected in your financial modeling, right? To know when marketing is needed or not needed, or at what amount or magnitude. But what I also like about you is what many progressive CMOs are looking at, which is the concept of simplicity. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
very,
just want to
very
critically challenge anything I think or hear and like apply it to myself. And like, do I make a lot of money from my closed lost automation sequence from Salesforce? Not at all.
mm,
And I don't,
mm,
and I've just like last night, actually, I audited what my like head of growth was doing there for
mhm,
fun. And I
mm,
went through the whole thing with, I thought he did a really good job. But I also didn't necessarily think it would drive a lot of money for the business for any other reason than the fact that the human already was disqualified. So sending them automated emails won't change that fact. It's like,
yeah,
there's just a lot of like actual facts we forget. And we think marketing can just like change facts.
yeah.
And it can't,
Yeah, yeah,
fortunately.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. It's like when I argue with my folks at home, I say, I am a strategist. I love data. I love all that. But there are many things about life that is just common sense. So
Right. Right.
it's a common sense thing.
Yeah.
We could go, yeah, we could go on and on, Garrett, but it's been a very revealing, amazing time with you. Again, I will say this: thanks for all you do. Continue to do it, and continue to impact the B2B marketing world. Hopefully you're able to diversify more, and become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So we are your greatest fans. I am your greatest fan as well, here. Where can our future marketers follow you? We know you don't post a lot, but they can also follow your work. So where can they do that?
Yeah, Twitter. I mean, I try to post on Twitter more, I'd say, than LinkedIn just because I don't really like LinkedIn. I don't know. It's like the news feed kind of seems spammy. Maybe that's just me. But I like Twitter. And I like YouTube. I like to post on YouTube because I like to do videos. I used to write a
Yeah,
lot more when I was like starting. I just don't have time to do like
yeah,
a really good blog post anymore
yeah,
that I think is
yeah,
truly valuable. And I don't want to just write for SEO purposes.
mhm,
So, mostly I'd say Twitter, check me out on Twitter.
mm,
And you can always just like DM me on LinkedIn or message me. I do like check on LinkedIn. I just don't post a ton. I need to post
yeah,
more, but yeah, I got a lot on my YouTube channel too. If you want to kind of just see how I think about things, I'd probably say YouTube. And then in the coming months, GarrettMehrguth.com. You can check out all my videos, and I'm gonna have a course on there if you want
mhm.
to kind of learn from how to run an agency that's maybe a little bigger.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's some great stuff that we can also look at. Guys, that's all we have for today on this episode. If you want to see more, it's on dotslovesmarketing.com. Here is even a much better place you can see it on your favorite podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. I'd like to thank Desrig and Content Allies for their support on every episode because we record like crazy. Till next time, connect the dots.